Origin Gents, and this is a shot that changed the world. The Assassination of Franz Ferdinand, Prelude to World War I, Part 3, the channel of the Great War. On June 28, 1914, Franz Ferdinand, the heir to the Austro-Hungarian throne, was assassinated by Gavrilo Princip. Yeah, he was just hanging out at the cafe and he just saw the Franz Ferdinand and was like, oh, look at that, it's my golden time. So yeah, he just missed an assassination attempt. And then he's like, I guess that's that then. I can't kill him. So just went to the cafe and hanged out there, I guess. Until the Franz Ferdinand just came just right there at the cafe. Talking about luck. A nationalist working for the Serbian underground organization Black Hand, officially known as Unification or Death. Okay, that's grim. From today's perspective, the assassination is seen as the event that triggered the chain reaction leading to the outbreak of the Great War. These events are known today as the July Crisis. Only 1 month after the shot, on July 28th, Austro-Hungarian declared war on Serbia. Yeah, I mean, it is kind of the thing that started all this thing, right? Even though everybody had their own motives, right? This was the spark that basically just gave everybody, reason to attack. Yeah, so let's watch this one.
As any schoolboy or schoolgirl knows, the assassination of Archduke Franz Ferdinand in Sarajevo, June 28, 1914, was the match that touched off the conflagration of World War I. My name is Indy Nidell, and this channel, The Great War, follows World War I week by week exactly 100 years later. First, I'd like to talk a little about Franz Ferdinand himself, so here's a very brief bio. He was born in 1863, one of Austria's 70 archdukes. It wasn't called Austria-Hungary yet. Now, he became very wealthy just before he reached his teens, when his cousin died and he was chosen to inherit a vast estate. Another death in 1889 changed his destiny enormously, the suicide of his cousin, Crown Prince Rudolf. This left Ferdinand's father heir to the throne of Austria-Hungary, but he immediately renounced his position, leaving Franz Ferdinand next in line to rule the empire.
Damn.
He was still in this position when he died, by which time Emperor Franz Joseph was 84 years old and Ferdinand was 50. Now, if you read pretty much
Okay, so one guy killed himself, and the Franz Ferdinand's father's like, oh, I don't want it. Okay, what was going on there? I feel like there was something that was just like people like, I don't want the throne.
Bio, long or short, on Franz Ferdinand, you'll discover that not a whole lot of people actually liked him. Well, except his wife, the Duchess Sophia. She was a Bohemian aristocrat, but without actual royal blood, so the imperial house made certain that neither Sophia nor any of her children could ever inherit the throne. This also meant they weren't much accepted by the Austrian aristocracy, in spite of his position as the next emperor, and a lot of people went out of their way to treat the Archduke and Duchess like crap.
Just because she's not royalty, does that mean that, her children are excluded? If Franz Ferdinand becomes a king, right, even then his children are not in line to go to throne. That's just weird, right? I've never seen that kind of system anywhere.
Another thing that every bio is sure to mention is Ferdinand's passion for hunting. He apparently recorded over 250,000 creatures killed in his 50 years on Earth. Now, I suppose that's really neither here nor there, but what is here and there are Franz Ferdinand's beliefs. He was very conservative and, let's just call it, unenlightened to be polite. He hated the Hungarians. He thought the Slavs were less than human, and he actually referred to Serbs as pigs. He was also very strongly Catholic, which carried with it the anti-Jewish, anti-Jesuit baggage of the times. He did love his wife, though, with a great passion, and the preservation of the Austrian Empire. And that is something we'll come back to in a few minutes. Before that, let's meet his assassin, Gavrilo Princip. Princip was a member of the young
That is weird, him having this kind of radical, strong views, and him hating the Serbs like that, and then he's the one who went there to ease the tension, apparently.
Bosnians, one of several violent secret societies in the Balkans, and one who decided to kill Franz Ferdinand when he announced his June visit to Bosnia in March 1914. Okay, so in May, Princip and 2 associates went to Belgrade, Serbia, where they were provided with 4 pistols and 6 bombs by the Black Hand, and Princip had some shooting practice in a city park. Now, that's not especially relevant. I just thought I'd like to point out that people had shooting practice in city parks back then.
Damn.
So, at the end of May, Princip and company took an 8-day journey to Sarajevo, planning to kill the Archduke. It's important to note here that the Austrian authorities and the Archduke himself were aware of the danger of some sort of murder attempt, since these sort of things were pretty commonplace in the empire, and especially in the Balkans. Now here's a quote from Franz Ferdinand the day he began his journey to Sarajevo and his car overheated. "Our journey starts with an extremely promising omen. Here our car burns, and down there they will throw bombs at us." So,
Ooh, he made a joke there, right? Extremely promising omen. That's a joke. He's making a joke there. Obviously knowing that, okay, probably everything's gonna be fine. I can make a joke here. He had no idea that this is gonna bite him in the ass. Damn.
the evening before they were supposed to arrive in Sarajevo, right? Franz Ferdinand and Sophia surprised everyone by turning up early, just on impulse, and they had a really nice time wandering around the town, which was a pretty exotic place back then. And later that evening came one of the great foreshadowing moments of all time. A member of the Bosnian parliament who had urged Ferdinand and Sophia to cancel the whole trip for reasons of safety was presented to Sophia, and she said this: "Things do not always turn out the way you say they will. Wherever we have been, everyone, down to the last Serb, has greeted us with such great friendliness, politeness, and true warmth that we are very happy with our visit." Okay.
Don't come with me your stats and science and prediction. You're rarely right, right? Is this similar to that guy that went to the Congress with a snowball in his hand, like, where's the global warming? Yeah, people like you always, gets fucked basically in the end.
So far, so good. But then the guy, whose name was Sunarik, answered this: "Your Highness, I pray to God that when I have the honor of meeting you again tomorrow night, you can repeat those words." Then they had a big banquet that night, and late the next morning, coincidentally their 14th wedding anniversary, the Archducal motorcade left Sarajevo station. No fewer than 7 young Bosnian hitmen were deployed on the town's bridges, one of which the Archduke had to cross. Now, one of the young Bosnians threw a bomb at the Archduke's car, but it bounced off his hood before it exploded, wounding 2 of the Archduke's men. The motorcade drove on to the town hall, and they listened to a bunch of the usual speeches. And then, after that, Franz Ferdinand changed his plans. He decided to visit the men who'd been hurt by the bomb.
Alright, imagine if, anybody attacked to this, any country's president or anything. They would panic and suddenly go back to, their safe house or, whatever, their main White House or whatever. In here, the guy throws the bomb, it bounces off the hoods and it kills some of his men. Like, yeah, there's nothing new here. Shit like this happens, right? You cannot be an Archduke of Austria if people don't throw a bomb at you. It's just normal, and just walked off and rode around the town with that car.
See if they were okay. So he wanted to go toward the hospital. But there was a lot of confusion over the new route and who'd been told what and who hadn't been told what. So when the Archduke's driver turned off the Apple key, the general sharing Ferdinand's car told the driver, no, back up and continue on Apple key. So the driver stopped the car because it had no functioning reverse gear, and he stopped it right next to where Gavrilo Princip was standing.
Damn.
So Princip raised his pistol and fired twice from a distance of only a few feet away. Sophie died instantly, and Franz Ferdinand's last words were, Sophie, don't die. Stay alive for our children." Franz Ferdinand died shortly after. Now, it's pretty amazing when you think about it that this whole enterprise could have possibly succeeded. I mean, it was so incredibly amateurish.
Alright, look, obviously that's a grim thing, and hitting the last words like that is really dark. I mean, look, some of you would say that, come on, you can't blame the guy like that. Haven't you been in the position where something might go wrong, but you're still in your own, in your own mentality, you're just like, everything's gonna be fine. And then, obviously, things do go bad. Obviously not at this level, but still. I mean, I understand that point of view, but you need to understand that he's an Archduke of Austria. People are gunning for him. He knows that there is a tension in Serbia. That's why he's there to begin with. He starts a journey thinking, oh, there's the omen, and makes a joke about it, right? People comes to, his wife and tells that this might not be the best idea. Our sources tells us that there might be an assassination attempt. It's like, your sources are, rarely right, and just moves on. You cannot, deny that much thing, right? Your own feeling tells you that this is going to be bad. People are telling you there's going to be assassination attempt, and you still carry on, right? You're not some commoner, right? You're Archduke of Austria. You should have known better. So in the end, that is grim, but it's kind of his fault. He shouldn't have gone there like that.
And had the Austrian authorities taken any precautions whatsoever, well, I mean, think about it. There are loads of people who think the Black Hand had more to do with it, but you'd think they'd plan a little better, or heck, plan at all. Anyhow, here were the immediate results. Word of the assassination spread instantly throughout Europe, and in Bosnia, by the end of July, more than 5,000 Serbs had been jailed, many of whom were later hanged when the war broke out. Princip was put in prison, being 27 days too young to receive the death penalty under Austrian law. Now, there were one or two European leaders who were seriously worried about the political consequences of the act, but most of Europe reacted by thinking it was more of the same. The usual Balkan business, another Balkan killing. There was very little mourning, even in Vienna, for the unloved Franz Ferdinand, and his funeral service only lasted 15 minutes. But there was one thing that became apparent only years later. You see, Princip, or the Serbs, or the Black Hand, or whoever you like to say was behind the killing, really, really, really got the wrong guy. Franz Ferdinand, for all his talk about Serbs being pigs or Russian autocracy being a good model for the future, for all his backward and outdated beliefs, had strong opinions on two very important things. One, in contrast to most of the empire, he was absolutely against any war with Russia and stated repeatedly that he would do anything in his power to prevent it. And two, since he put the empire above his personal beliefs, and to make the empire work once again, he was sympathetic to the idea of making the bipartite state of Austria-Hungary into a tripartite state of Austria, Hungary, and a union of the Slavic peoples as the third part of the empire. So when a Serb killed Franz Ferdinand, it was a killing that was not only against Serbian interests, but since the Austrian Empire used the killing as a justification to invade Serbia, even if it meant war with Russia, Princip killed the one and only person in the empire who was determined and able to prevent that war, Franz Ferdinand. This was episode number 3 of our Great War Prelude to War specials. Now, if
Yeah, see, I don't know, this might be a bit cynical side of it, but I'm like thinking, okay, Archduke, and obviously Archduke wife was not some royalty, so all the nobility of the Austria didn't care about that, right? They even held the funeral for just 15 minutes. I don't know. I'm thinking, did people in power in Austria, right, plan this, knowing that there might be an assassination attempt, so let's send Franz Ferdinand there so they would kill him so we could go to war and take the Serbia for ourselves permanently, because they just send him as a some kind of a excuse to start war. Did they plan that? I don't know. Obviously that's far-fetched, probably didn't happen, but I can't stop but thinking about that. Overall, that was a shot that changed the world. This was way in detail. I won't come across any other video that's detail about this assassination, but yeah, it was something. If you like my reaction, don't forget to like, subscribe, check out the reaction. There's a link in the description. Check out the cast, please click the link cards, and yeah, I'll see you next time.